Hello, flickin' fanatics, and welcome to the first edition of the Kenobi Show Nobi. I don't know if that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Maybe I'll do it different every time, but we're going to be talking about the first two episodes of the Obi Wan Kenobi Star Wars show on Disney Plus, and we're so glad that you're joining us today. We're going to talk about all of our thoughts, breakdowns, expectations for what's to come, and we want you to join in on that conversation, and we will see you right after this. Now, here's the question. Did I say Kenobi Shinobi? You're muted, sir.
Did you mute me? Did you mute me on purpose?
I didn't mute you on purpose.
I don't believe you. You know what? This is just what I do now. Because if you watched my watch along from last night for episode 1 of Kenobi, I was muted for about the first 4 minutes until I realized I was doing something.
All right, moving forward, if I know we have different opinions on any of these episodes, I'm just going to let you stay muted the whole episode and nod my head whenever I see you talking.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sean. Wow. Like, you're a mama.
Fantastic. I hope everyone is doing great. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to watch the show. We did get 2 episodes drop at 9 p.m. 24 hours ago. So that was a cool surprise. And I was not the only person that did this, but I walked out of Top Gun, pulled my phone out as I do to tweet, "Hey, I just saw Top Gun. It was fantastic." Yada 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 yada. And Sean Sullivan, just like Ian McDermott, how's your night going? That's not that good.
I just had Froyo. If you're wondering, thank you for asking, Sean. I do appreciate it. Froyo. That's
Obi Wan Froyobi. I'm just gonna keep throwing it in with every word. It may not have been. And Brian saw Warwick Davis. That's awesome.
You know,
of Willow fame.
I saw him as well too because I watched Willow this morning.
That's right.
I saw him out.
We did not see Warwick Davis or Ian McDermott. However, just outside here in my living room, my wife and I have built a really cool blanket fort, and we've been watching Stranger Things all day, so that's been fun. Awesome. And of course, last night we watched Kenobi.
You guys are having so much fun. I'm jealous. Did you go on Rise of the Resistance yet? Because that's definitely the best ride at Disneyland. Yeah. I think we've all well established it's the best.
Yes, Rise of the Resistance, good. Rise of Skywalker,
different results.
Results may vary.
I rewatched it for the first time since theaters. I had not seen it since theaters, and I rewatched it about 2 weeks ago. And I liked it more than I remember liking it in the theater. Or maybe I was just more forgiving of some of the negatives aspects of it because I was binging through the whole saga. And I just kind of let go the negativity of it and just enjoyed like the fun stuff they put on screen.
I think Rise of Skywalker does come across a little bit as like corrective fan fiction than it does its own standalone complete whole story. But that's a whole other topic.
Sure.
Speaking of things that get redemptions, not that Ewan McGregor himself needed a redemption, but maybe some redemption from the prequel storytelling itself. We have now, it is upon us, the Kenobi show, and this will be our after show where we discuss the episodes. What the Kenobi show? So this is the Kenobi Showbi.
There we go.
Yes, that's our after show. That's what I was getting to. Hey Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Hey Scott. Sean has a question for you. How's your day going?
How's your day going? How's your beard? So every week we are going to be discussing the most recent episode of this. Miss Marvel's also dropping. I don't know what we're going to do about that situation because I don't have that much free time. I kind of have to pick and choose, and we've already kind of decided Obi Wan. We're already here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll review Miss Marvel at the end. We'll review the show in its entirety. I don't know, something like that.
It's Miss Marvel's 8 or 9 episodes, so it's a little longer. Plus, it's starting 2 weeks from now. So
The 8th, I
this,
think, is that right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this show is relatively going to be almost done anyway. So we'll,
Right.
for the first 2 weeks or so, if you can't hop on a review, I will. Maybe Allison, maybe Scott, whoever can hop in. We'll make it work. We'll make it happen.
John Lestrina referencing
Yes.
Han, of course, who played, is it the third brother, fourth, eighth brother, a brother?
I believe it was the third brother, the fifth
but
brother.
then like
You're the third or the fifth?
Reva's like the third sister, I think.
That's what it was. So the fifth brother, third sister, I think it was.
All right, cool.
Obviously, we took extensive notes. We know all the Star Wars information. You come to us for expertise in this field, and we're not going to let you down. We're going to find out and let you know everything.
Yeah.
You know.
If you're looking for extensive Star Wars knowledge, I will quote Tyrion Lannister and say, "You've come to the wrong place."
But I will direct you to Sean Sullivan because he himself can be a Star Wars trivia.
That's how it works. Okay, well,
exactly.
We do have two 140-minute episode, 150-minute episode to dive into here, and we're going to try to keep it a tight 30-minute episodes because for those of you watching now, we're going to be running right into our speakeasy right after, just with a brief couple-minute break in between, so that video is separate. And join us for that. We'll just be having an open conversation about all the things that have been going on, and just so happens a lot of it's Star Wars. So, Sean, see you in the chat. Brian, all you guys at Star Wars Celebration, come share your stories on there. If you guys want to pop on the stream too, let us know. All right, but how did you feel about these first 2 episodes? I kind of want to just talk about it instead of episode by episode. Let's talk about it as like one big chunk. We watched about an hour and a half of Obi Wan Kenobi yesterday.
Basically, it was fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I know there are differing opinions, and I don't think it was. I don't know if it was really built as this bang pow action series. Maybe the trailers posited that way, but this was definitely more of an initial. This was a lot of setup in these first 2 episodes, adequately titled Part 1 and Part 2. There was no like show title name for it.
Did you sit through the 10-minute long previously on part?
Yeah, I did. I was hoping for something new, and it was just literally the prequels, which I literally just finished watching in the lead up to this show for this.
The great thing about that is, by comparison, they're like, this will be better than what we just showed you 10 minutes of.
And they weren't wrong. They weren't wrong. Yeah. It was definitely great. But this was a lot of setup for, I think, what we're going to see in the next 4 episodes. And essentially, it's like, this is the inciting incident. This is what gets Kenobi out of his cave and back on the horse and ready to defend himself. And he knows that there's this power out. We learn at the end of the episode that he learns that, about Anakin. Anakin's still alive.
Oh, by the way, down here on the bottom, full spoiler review. We're going
in
right
red.
into it.
It's in red for a reason. People should know. It should be in the title. But they made it very deliberately paced to show. It was like a character study on him and what he's been going through the last 10 years, and what it would take for him to come out and kind of be the Jedi that we see other Jedi too in the show, that we see them put him on this pedestal, and we're like, we know you're a hero. You need to get back out there. You need to help us. You need to help people. And I liked it. I really liked it overall. And it wasn't quite as exciting. I think that was your, that was your opinion on it, which you can share now. And I think it wasn't quite as fast paced as maybe you wanted it to be.
I'm glad that I got more time. Initially, we were just going to pop in right after the show and do a review. And I'm glad we didn't, because I need to sit, because I think I just got out of seeing Top Gun Maverick, and that was like a strong high I was riding. Yes. And I went from that to Obi Wan, which has different pacing. It's
very different.
Pacing. And so I'm not going to say the show's bad. I think, or like that I was disappointed with like the lack of action stuff. I just it hasn't found its footing for me, or clicked or registered. Certain line deliveries, or for the Inquisitors, I wanted to feel the presence of the Inquisitors more. Like, we know from the animated content that the Grand Inquisitor really is quite the threat. I didn't feel it. Like, he's tried to speak threateningly, but I didn't feel it throughout his presence, if that makes sense. My favorite prose was anything involving Alderaan, Bail Organa, Leia, like diving more into that world, because we know in New Hope, that this is not Leia's first interaction with Obi Wan Kenobi. Help
Mhm.
me, Obi Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. She knew who he was. He's a
Mhm.
friend of the family, and so we got their introduction. I love that. I like that. There's a lot of people worried we were going to, just like Boba Fett, once again be spending most of our time on Tatooine. Not the case. We were on Tatooine for a fair bit, but
Yeah.
it did bounce around it almost so much to the point where I'm like, we are going to get Kenobi in this Kenobi show, right? So I guess pun intended a little bit. I ended up feeling a little lukewarm by the end of it. And I think part of it was our ending note, what we're left with at the end, which was the big reveal that you brought up.
Mhm.
And I think there is a little bit of a checklist of things that we're all, what the heck? We're all pretty sure we're going to happen. And one of the things we knew needed to happen is that at some point in the series, Obi-Wan is going to discover that Anakin's still alive.
Right.
Didn't like it at all.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the only things I actively was like, that I feel like there should have been some, like, Ewan was acting his ass off in that scene to show like the weight of that knowledge now. But I don't feel, is it Reva or Reva? I think it's Reva, right?
Reva. REVA.
I'll get figured out by episode 3. But a lot, I didn't find her convincing, and the conviction wasn't really coming across. And her just like willy-nilly being like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring you to him, to Vader," and like had this like speech of like, "Oh yes, Anakin Skywalker is still alive." Like she was spelling it out for him so hard that I found it distracting. And I would have loved it to have been a emotional moment. And there's a million different ways you could have done it where he discovers it for himself.
Sure, yeah.
Because he doesn't know what Vader looks like, as far as we know.
Yeah.
I would have loved for Obi-Wan and Vader to basically get in that clash and for Vader to say something to him.
Mhm.
In the middle of the fight there, he's like staring at him. He's like, "Oh my God, this is Anakin's alive still."
Right.
So I feel like it just kind of, there was some robbed potential in there. And maybe that's a little bit of a deal of speculation versus expectations. Again, I'm not poo-pooing on the show. I think it has a stronger start than Boba Fett. I think it's got a stronger start than Hawkeye, but we'll see where it goes from here. Right now, it's on like the mid-low tier in the starting range of the Disney Plus shows. But that's my thoughts in a nutshell. I want to see what people in the chat are saying.
It's funny you say it had a stronger start than Boba Fett, because I feel like a lot of people were really high on the beginning of that series and they got less as time went on. But I think I like this more than the majority of Boba Fett, but that could be my judgment post, hindsight's 2020. So I'm judging the series as a whole, not the introduction episode.
Sure.
Which is, you're always gonna have those memories as you come into things. But
and I don't want to be the one being called out for like jumping the gun, because I'm seeing people jump the gun the other direction. They're like, it's already on par with Mandalorian. I'm like, oh, is it?
Is it? 2 episodes.
But go ahead.
We have an hour and a half. I don't disagree with your sentiment about the reveal at the end. I think maybe I just didn't, not to say I didn't care, but I didn't have as big of an issue with it, the way it was set up. But I do agree that there could have been a better face-to-face moment. So hopefully that is coming, because we do cut to him in the back to tank afterwards. So we see a little bit of Hayden in there. And I don't know. I think Reva was very deliberately, if I had issues with anything, it was maybe some of the direction on like the chase scene at the end of that episode, of the second episode, where she's just doing parkour all over the city, which is the same thing we saw in Boba Fett.
And then it was really strange pacing, because they like were with the music and everything, they're building up this tension like she was on Obi-Wan's heels.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're just in a scene with Obi-Wan for like 5 minutes. I'm like, where is she?
Right.
Like you made it feel like she was like right around the corner.
She was right on top of the rooftop. She was just coming right down. Yeah. Yeah. So I did think that was a bit interesting for sure. But
I
I don't know.
promise this is not not the Obi Wan shit on show.
No.
I had issues. I'm still very optimistic, and I want to see what's coming up for the characters.
Well, there was a lot to love about it, and so like we can jump back into the first episode, so where we see them work in this mundane lifestyle, right? He's working at
Mhm.
this fish plant, whatever that huge fucking manta ray looking fish shark creature was in
Yeah,
the
you
middle of
noticed
the
it too. It looks
Dune
kind of like
Sea.
a manta ray skeleton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a combination of many things, and he's chopping pieces of meat off for his opaki, I think they're called. I can't remember what the name of the creatures are, but
Matty Gunner. If we say his
yeah.
name 3 times in the mirror, will he show up in the chat?
Monty's in the chat. He probably knows. Monty knows because they do put it in subtitles. That's the only reason I remember it. But I thought he was going to have a confrontation with the guy running the work camp too, because they showed that for a moment. It didn't happen. Whatever. But we see this mundaneness, this, and then we also get to see this brand new Jedi that we've never met before. I believe his name was Navi, and he basically going, "Hey, we need your help, dude. Like, where the hell have you been?"
The one that got the Disney hanging?
Yes.
Also,
nothing around the neck.
Yeah.
They hung him by his shoulders. But he's like, "Hey, they're hunting us down." And everyone's like, "Yeah, so run away. Like, why are you here?
Go. Yeah.
Like, get the hell out of here." I do agree. They're hunting us down. So shut the hell up and blend into the crowd. Obviously that didn't happen. And then of course we see Joel Edgerton as Owen. And I love that scene. That was so tense because Reva had just chopped off some lady's hand immediately just for back talking, basically. And Owen is standing his ground, and he's not giving up Obi Wan though. He's being, he's like, I ain't no narc. I ain't gonna give him up, but I got no love for the Jedi either. I thought that whole scene, there was a lot of tension there. I really like that. I don't know how you felt about it.
I did like that scene. I like Joel Edgerton a lot as Owen Lars, and it was cool seeing. Obviously, we didn't spend as much time with Luke as we did with Leia, but just kind of seeing him in the environment and making the New Hope stuff come across, like even feel more lived in, which is something I thought Rogue One did too. I feel like Rogue One enriches New Hope, and I feel like elements of the show are already doing that. I love seeing how much of a Spitfire Leia is. She's really a lot of my pros about these 2 episodes have to do with the portrayal of Leia. I'm like, I absolutely believe that little girl grew up to be Carrie Fisher, like 100%.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
So that was fun. He has his lightsaber on him now, so I'm hoping that we get some action soon. One of my favorite little things is right when Leia was grabbed and we saw the bounty hunters. I kept squinting at the main bounty hunter, and finally I said, "Is that Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers?" And so I went to Google. Yes, it is.
Yep.
Yes,
Needles.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I saw him, I was like, "Is that Ed Harris's stunt double?" Is that that's definitely what Flea looks like nowadays, especially after seeing Top Gun Maverick a few days ago. That's definitely Ed Harris's stunt double. And if we say it one more time, PLD will show up in the chat.
That's absolutely.
I thought he was fine. He didn't blow me away as whatever character he was playing. Like he was not the Bill Burr to the Mandalorian as Flea was to Obi Wan, but it was fun seeing.
I have no complaints about like the actor portion of like the bounty hunters. However, I was just like in a text thread with some of my friends, and we're like, what was that chase scene through the forest with the 3 bounty hunters going after Leia? Because like Leia like jumped over a stick that was like 9 inches off the ground, and then one of the bounty hunters walked up and was like, I can't get over it. And I was like, what? And then another one like ran into a branch, and I was like, what is this? Like played the Benny Hill music.
So that's what I'm talking about that is my main detriment about this episode was the choreography of some of that going on, was the parkour scene with Reva at the end of the episode 2, but also that scene, thank you for reminding me, where it was like, oh no, I'm gonna get you. Oh no, I missed you. Darn, you slipped out from under my fingers. Like, you are 3 grown-ass people. You can't catch a 10-year-old right through.
Also, these are the bounty hunters that were hired by the Inquisitor, or like an Inquisitor. To me, it reminds me of like going to Hawkeye trying to tell me that the the bros. What were the bros called? Yeah,
the Tracksuit Mafia.
The Tracksuit Mafia. You tell me that Tracksuit Mafia works for Wilson Fisk,
right?
Malarkey. I don't believe you. Uh, so yeah, it has some issues, and again, like I said, I'm not just gonna sit and crap on it, but I feel like the show maybe needs to be humbled a little bit because there's so many people online saying that like it's flawless, it's exceptional, this is masterclass in Star Wars cinema and all this other stuff. I'm like,
Mm.
let's. I know we're all really excited to see Ewan back. I am too. I do think before we started though, I really quickly said to my wife Lauren, I said over under 80% we see Darth Vader in the first 2 episodes, and she said under, and I went over, and I said over, and I think it's the last scene of the second episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why we're getting 2 episodes. It's because we're getting the Vader tease. That's what they wanted us to get to make sure everyone tuned in for episode 3. So.
Well, you got to imagine. We don't know yet how long every episode's going to be, but if the first one was a lot of setup, it was 52 minutes or something. The second one's about 41 minutes, and so if we have 4, and that's with credits, so take another 6 minutes off of that. So if we have 4 more episodes of about 35 to 41 minutes, that's about 2 hours. And so you gotta if Vader's gonna be whatever big bad, you gotta tease him at least at the end of that first act, which was what we just saw. If it's gonna end up being Reva, because honestly, like she is probably my favorite thing about this show. She is on fire and she is ruthless. And I think there was a lot of speculation about, is she gonna turn, or is she gonna, I think we assumed like the Grand Inquisitor was gonna be the big bad, right? And maybe like she would be like a flunky that maybe has a change of heart. No, she's chopping people's hands off. She's ready to go to war. I like her.
I get my animated stuff a little mixed up sometimes. The Grand Inquisitor is a villain in Rebels, right?
Correct, which takes place after the series. So there's a lot of people going, okay, well, he's obviously not dead, even though because he only had a stab wound. I mean, that wound is cauterized. He's just laying there collecting his energy, I think. Or they just completely retcon something, and they're gonna have to explain it away somehow. Or I guarantee you, the fucking Star Wars internet's gonna explode in a fit of, shaking their nerd fists. That's not my timeline.
I don't know a heck of a lot about some of the, not EU, but some of the like animated things. So, but even when she stabbed him, I went, "That's not right."
Yeah.
And some people were like really happy that she did. It's like, oh, this really establishes her as a threat. I was like, only if you know who the Grand Inquisitor is.
Sure.
Because I'm going to be real with people. 85-90% of the people watching Obi Wan have no idea who and what the Grand Inquisitor is, or what an Inquisitor is.
Right.
And I
do agree with that.
I don't think this show established them like they should have.
Sure.
To make that work. Like it kind of works for me because I kind of understand what they are, but
there could have been one scene in the first episode where they show up on Tatooine, which is an outer rim planet. They don't get much interference from the Empire, and there could have been someone that lady who got her hand chopped off. She could have stood up in the crowd and be like, "Why are we supposed to listen to you? Who the hell are you?" And then they could have basically had a 1-minute dialogue scene of explaining who they were.
Yeah.
And it would have done.
It's like we are Inquisitors. We work under the Emperor and Lord Vader. We are his right and left arm. Blah blah. Something. Yeah. Some kind of thing. Because I felt like Mandalorian, anyone could jump into Mandalorian. Like it felt extremely accessible.
Sure.
And I think that there's a little bit of inside baseball going on here.
Okay. So I do think they set him up as the leader. I think they did a good job of showing that he's in charge. The fifth brother and Reva, the third sister, you could tell she was fighting back versus the fifth brother was more like, okay, yes, you gave me an order, I'm going to do it. I don't know who the yellow one was in the second episode. I don't think they ever named her, so I don't know because she's definitely not the seventh sister, but she could be like the ninth sister.
She's probably the 10th cousin,
something like that. 10th brother's second cousin, twice removed. But yeah, exactly. What does that make us?
Nothing, which is what you are about to become. I almost told Lauren before we watched, because it kept popping up on Apple TV. I was like, oh gosh, they have Hot Shots. We have to watch Hot Shots before we watch Top Gun Maverick.
That's how we know. They have
That's right.
They're bad guys.
Red lightsabers. They are bad. Correct.
My friend.
Hi, Allison.
Yeah. So, Overall, I did really like it. I can't disagree with your point about the reveal, but I thought Ewan, out of anyone, did a fantastic job of selling the whole thing, selling the
Yeah.
dread. How you could see his heart sinking in that moment, where he's like, "My brother's alive. I thought he was dead. I thought I left him to die." That type of thing. So maybe he has this extra mission now on his shoulders, where like maybe I can turn him, maybe I can still save him. That type of, because he may not know, may not know about Vader. He had obviously turned himself off from the Force, as we see that fun
Yeah.
scene of him catching Leia falling to the ground.
He probably
And
hasn't heard the name Vader because I think he sees the hologram or something in Revenge of the Sith, so he knows that Anakin becomes Vader prior to being cut apart to pieces.
Yeah, he sees the Emperor dubbing
which
him
is
Vader.
why when she says Lord Vader, I was like, that's all he needs.
Yeah.
But then she's like, oh, that's right. Anakin Skywalker still. I'm like, okay, you don't have to spoon feed the baby this information.
Right.
So I think I just had like some dialogue issues, a few aesthetic issues. It just didn't feel super shiny to me. It was a little beat up.
Actually, to that point too, if she knows who Anakin Skywalker is, and there's this kid on this desert planet Tatooine that goes by the name of Luke Skywalker.
Somebody brought that up.
I wonder if there's a relationship.
Do we know that he goes by Luke Skywalker, or does he know his father's name and maybe he goes by Luke Lars?
It's possible. We obviously I don't think we know that at all yet.
No.
So yeah, I guess it's possible. We're just assuming from A New Hope because he literally introduced himself as Luke Skywalker.
Yes, correct.
So I don't know. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to save you.
Oh, what did she say? She said something like, "You look a little old and beat up to be a Jedi," and I could just hear Carrie Fisher. Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?
Yep. Exactly.
I enjoyed that. So again, continue to let us know what you guys thought. Vapion says
that's exactly what happened.
Oh, whoops! I think we click things on the same time because we're super organized like that. He's like me when Obi Wan hears Vader, he thinks of Japanese wrestling legend Big Van Vader. Of course, that is what everyone goes to first.
Yeah. That's what he thought until he heard Anakin. He was actually thinking of Big Van Vader. That's what he was thinking.
Right now, this just, 2 episodes. It's not how I'm gonna feel about the whole season. I'm at about a 6.87 out of 10 right now, where I'm like, okay, let's see where it goes. I was hoping to be more high on it, but I'm not off of it, if that makes sense.
There's plenty of room for them to land strong or fail, and they can really go either way. I think we can really trust in the director.
Deborah Chow.
Deborah Chow. I was thinking Chloe Zhao for a second. I'm like, nope, that's definitely nothing. But I hope maybe she has some help.
Do you have a new hope?
I have a new hope that she has some help with the second unit directing of some of the choreography of the chase scenes. That's my hope, because I think that was an issue in both episodes.
Yeah. Fair enough. Is there any other stuff that you really want to cover for the episodes? It's funny. Like I think there's some highlights there that you can like talk about, but like I was talking with Lauren after the episodes. I was like, for it being an hour and a half of Star Wars, I don't feel like I had a lot of conversation points. Like I was like, I like the Alderaan stuff. Like everything to me feels like a real vague thought. I'm like, oh yeah, the Alderaan stuff was cool.
I need a little Lola in my life, little floating robot.
Yeah.
With a huge fucking blade in her little to cut ropes.
That just reminded me of L3 from Solo.
Mm-hmm.
But I cracked up because the second time that is it Layla?
Lola.
The first time Lola shows up, Lauren was like, it's Weeblo.
Yes, he is.
I think from Flubber.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what she looked like. That's funny.
Oh yeah, Obi-Wan's a terrible employer. Or employee.
Can succeed or fail by the cameos. Yeah, that's true, because I think there can be a lot of weight put on what is Anakin gonna do, what is gonna happen with Vader. It's like we don't really need Vader if the Inquisitors were a big enough bad,
right?
So I hope that they are the big bad, and I think we need a confrontation with Vader, but I hope he's not the big bad.
Right now, the Inquisitors are coming across to me as ambitious lackeys, and I felt like in Rebels that was not the case.
Mm.
They were a threat in their own right. But
sure.
Anyways, we do have our Friday night speakeasy coming up here. So is there any last things you want to cover about the episode?
Nope. I think I'm good to go. We'll talk more about it. The next episode's coming out Wednesday. We'll try to do Thursday of next week. I think so.
Probably,
our plan.
I think Thursdays for the next few weeks covering covering that. And you know what? We're all gonna watch Miss Marvel. So you might hear some of our thoughts mixed into our Friday night speakeasies if you're curious what we think about the show.
Maybe.
But all right, guys, thank you so very much for joining us tonight. It's been a blast. We enjoyed talking with you about the show. And until next time, may the force be with you and keep it real. Bye-bye.
And everyone currently hanging out, stick around in about a few minutes because we're going to just launch our speakeasy show. We're just cutting off the broadcast, starting a new one. Hop on it.
Hop on over. The Streamlabs link is the same. Get a head start. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.